A very good evening to you. And here we are, another sweet and swing on Max Radio. My name's Howard Kane. Pleasure to have your company for the next hour. What have we got? A little bit of George Shearing. More from Perry, of course. More jazz in 3D. Spike Robinson and George Masso. And to start us off, some wise advice if you're a TT fan. Stay out of the South. Jack Simpson and his sextet getting us going there with advice for, well, I say for the TT goes, obviously pre-TT, the Blount Clan, the classic racing, of course, down on the Blount circuit, you want to head south. But once they are done, then there's not much point in going too far south on the Isle of Man during TT fortnight because there's not a great deal in the way of racing going on there. It's wonderful to visit, of course, Castletown and Castle Rushen and down to the Calf and all the rest of it. The Sound, Craignish, the Chasms, so many great places to see in a beautiful part of the island. But not much racing. I'll leave it with you. You can see the rest of the island in between if you like, one way or another. I hope you are coping okay. It looks like we might have some half-decent weather for race week. You never know. it has to be said, it's just been still a little bit cool for my tastes for what is basically now flaming June. And I think I had friends over watching racing a day or two back, and they had their parkas on in the evening, and they were sending pictures to their friends saying, "Why are you wearing thick coats?" And so, and they said, "Well, it's 12 degrees. 12 degrees on a May evening." Yeah, that doesn't shout summer to me. But at least the racing got underway. That's the main thing. Jack Simpson, well, another character. They're all characters, really. There's very few who are just sort of bland nothings. They've always got a story to tell somewhere on the line. Drummer and, as you can gather there, a great xylophone player. With Sidney Kite originally, and with Sid Lipton, Jack Payne, played with Ambrose, and then formed his own Hawaiian and tango bands. But his best outfit by far, best known outfit anyway, I suppose it's a question of taste for the others, was the group we've just heard, the Jack Simpson Sextet, which he formed in 1940. And that evolved from a slightly smaller quintet known as the Five Jacks, mostly because it consisted of Jack Simpson, Jack Cooper, Jack Collier, Jack Penn, and Jack Miranda. Yeah, you couldn't make it up, could you? He led the sextet until the post-war closure of all the music halls, really, and well, that forced its demise. And then when it got to the 1950s, rock and roll would come in, taste had changed somewhat, and so he emigrated to California. And I don't know what happened to him after that. I don't think he's still with us, but good sound he had there in any case. And I think was it Betty Simpson taking the vocals there? It sounded a bit like it. Was it Betty? No, it was Betty Kent. Betty Kent it was, on the vocals. Now, the other week, last week, week before, I lose track, it goes so quickly, I think I mentioned Cyril Stapleton, and I don't think I played any Cyril Stapleton. So I'm going to put that right now. Don't drop off, though, because he has a sleepy serenade. Sleepy Serenade with Cyril Stapleton. Cyril always synonymous with great bands and good quality, and the young man very much inspired by the excellence and the swinging groups that Glenn Miller put together in the States, and also closer to home, Ted Heath in the UK, of course, and he really set out to emulate them and recognise the British public wanted dance music, but also they wanted good dance music, not just sort of any old rubbish put together so they could go round the floor. And Stapleton set his sights high, but he had great musical education and a lot of expertise, a wonderful musician all round. Born in Nottingham, he was in 1914 and started out playing the violin, and by 14 he'd won a scholarship which enabled him to carry on training, really, and would be paid for as well, of course, and was so eager to get a great all-round musical education that he also went and studied in Czechoslovakia as well as Trinity College in London, which might be a bit of an unusual background for someone going into popular music, but that's what he did. And when he left college, he was engaged as a violinist originally in the BBC Dance Orchestra of the time under, yes, Henry Hall. Looks a very slick character as well, just looking at this CD. You dance to these bands, Cyril Stapleton, and he's got slicked back hair, looking very pensive and sort of not flamboyant, much more of a, looks more like an academic in a way than a band leader. But he could play, and he knew his stuff all right, didn't he? If I do sound a little bit like Barry White this evening, I think I've picked up one of those summer bugs which seem to be doing the rounds, which is a real pain at this time of the year, aren't they? So I keep taking the old paracetamol and lots of honey and lemon and all the rest of it. Tot of whiskey last thing at night and such like. Now, I was thumbing through, as I often do, for this programme, the Book of Words, England's Book of British Dance Bands. Wonderful. If you can find a second-hand copy on eBay, I'm sure they're still knocking around all sorts of interesting snippets of information left, right and centre. And wedged in the back of those, amongst other pieces of paper and various notes, was a postcard. Rather pretty too, with a picture of the Church of St John the Baptist from Small Hythe in Kent on the front, and covered in the most tiny but very neat writing on the back, and it was from Beastie. Some time ago. It's not something that's just been sent, it could be years ago. I'm looking to see if there's a date, but if there is, it's so small I can't read it. But wonderful writing. I mean, how you write that small Beastie and keep it so neat and still legible, I don't know. Although I might need my glasses, which I haven't brought up to the studio, never mind. She mentioned several sort of favourites of hers back in the day, starting with Barney Gilbraith and his Coconut Grove Quartet. Only did 10 sides, she said, H. Recorded for Parlophone in London between June 1939 and March 1940. That's not very long, was it? I didn't find any biography on him, she says, except that he played piano accordion and the piano and did some vocals and was the musical director. And his lineup featured Reg Conroy on vibes, Hank Hobson on bass, Dudley Barber on drums, Gwen Jones on the vocal, and then a brackets to say Harry London, I think it is, or Landau replaced Barber on the drums later on. Well, you know what? I think we should hear them. Beastie, why not? Here's one from an old 78. Just listen to those crackles.
I'm just walking through Mockingbird Lane. I'm in the sunshine again. Every bird in the tree says good morning to me while I'm walking through Mockingbird Lane. I'm just swinging along down the lane.
Ah, lovely stuff. A little bit of George Shearing, of course. There, what a touch he had on the piano. And again, like Art Tatum, how on earth he was that fluent and nimble across the keyboard when he was completely blind. I just don't know. I mean, it'd be fantastic. I'd be delighted if I could play like that, seeing all the notes. But whoa, what a touch. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Con Alma, that was. Recorded fairly recently in the scale of things, so Sweet and Swing, 1979 in Villingen, West Germany, with the wonderful Niels Henning Ørsted Pedersen, sadly died far too young, on bass, and Louis Stewart at the guitar. Fine player he was. Irish Louis Stewart, wasn't he? Something fairly recently came out again, some of his music. I know we were sent something. I must try and dig it out, of Louis Stewart's solo stuff. Wonderful, wonderful player he was, and perhaps under the radar for a lot of people. Don't know. And before that, yes, we did have indeed Walking Through Mockingbird Lane with Barney Gilbraith and the Coconut Grove Quartet. Quintet? Quartet. Either way, good choice from Beastie. Any more thoughts, Beastie? Send them my way. Haven't heard from you for a while. Hope all is well. And I adore how much writing you can get onto a postcard. You get more on one postcard than I get in a whole sheaf of A4, I think. Amazing and totally legible. I just need to put my glasses on. It is Sweet and Swing. H with you through until the top of the hour. And as always, let me know if you've got any thoughts, anything you would like to hear. And again, Far Away Club, we had Abu Dhabi the other week. Great. Marvellous to have the Abu Dhabi coming into the Far Away Club, and had many entries of late. So if you're listening via the wonders of the web in somewhere further south than Ronnig or further north than Bride, then let me know. Howard Kane at manxradio.com. That's Kane, C-A-I-N-E, all lowercase, Manx, M-A-N-X, radio, all one word, Howard Kane at manxradio.com. And just ping us to say, yeah, I'm listening in Botswana or California or wherever. Be delightful to hear from you. I will get a mention and preferably say something you'd like to hear. See if we can squeeze it in as well. Always happy to oblige if we can. And of course, always love to see, like Beastie, a postcard, letter, Christmas card. Well, no, a bit early for Christmas, I suppose, even for me. Whatever you like. Sheet of A4, I don't mind. Just lovely to hear from people. It's Howard at Manx Radio, and it's Sweet and Swing, of course, and it's Broadcasting House, Douglas Head, Douglas in the Isle of Man. And that postcode is I, M for Mother 1, 5, B for Bravo, W for Whiskey, which is what I could do with my throat at the moment, I think. However, before that, we'll have a bit of Perry. Sweet and whiskey, that goes all as well. It doesn't like honey and whiskey, I dare say, having Perry Como and a shot of whiskey if I could. I suppose I better not at the moment. But we've been enjoying this little collection sent to us from our friends Avid quite recently for classic albums plus. So this is from his album Wednesday Night Music Hall, and this is as sweet can get. One of my nana's old favourites, I think. Roses are blooming in Picardy.
Roses are shining in Picardy, in the hush of the silvery dew. Roses are flowering in Picardy, but there's never a rose like you, and the roses will die with the summertime, and our roads may be far, far apart, but there's one rose that dies not in Picardy. 'Tis the rose that I keep in my heart. and our roads may be far, far apart. But there's one rose that dies not in Picardy. 'Tis the rose that I keep in my
There you go. I bet you're thinking of Christmas just like me. Roses, I said a blooming, a shining in Picardy, or just Roses of Picardy, I think officially it is called. I always think roses are blooming, but it's shining in Picardy, I think, isn't it? Recorded in the RCA Victor Studios of Studio 2 in New York on the 18th of December. Told you it was Christmassy, 1945. Or at least some of it was in any case, this album. Wednesday Night Music Hall with Perry Como. You can't get much sweeter than that, can you? Wonderful stuff. We'll dig into, what should we go into next week? We'll go on to maybe Relaxing with Perry Como. Yeah, how about that? Or the one with his cardi on. Perry Como's... Oh, I can't read that one. Oh, Make Someone Happy. There we go, that'll do. Make Someone Happy with Perry, yeah. Well, I hope that makes you happy. It does have that sort of smoothing feeling, doesn't it? It is like honey, sort of oral honey going through your ears, Perry Como, like that. It's so sweet. Wonderful. Right, onto a swinging side of things then. Spike Robinson. Again, he is one of that rare club of someone I met several times, in that he's very mainstream, really. He's not back in the golden days of Ambrose and Ted Heath and Geraldo and all our other friends from that time. Spike was playing up until, not that long ago. And I did have the pleasure of actually playing with him. That's very rare, I can say that on this programme. But Spike, a wonderful tenor saxophonist, and visited the Isle of Man several times and played with a pickup band at the wonderful Riverside Studio, as it was then, up in Laxey Gardens. Long gone now, sadly, run by Peter Allenberger back in the day, if anyone remembers that. Had some wonderful nights there when it's at its peak, with lots of rösti and Swiss sausage and cheese fondue, and oh, what a night. Jazz prints all round the wall, and Pete would be cooking a storm behind the bar, or serving drinks, or in the kitchen, and then later on in the evening he'd come out and he'd have his baritone sax on the stand somewhere. He'd come and have a blow with whoever was playing, including this man, Spike Robinson. And Spike would play tenor, and I had the great pleasure of playing with him, with Tony Williams, I think, on bass. Not Tony Williams, the drummer, but Tony Williams used to play bass over here. The old maestro, Dad, on piano, and myself behind the kit, doing the best I could to keep up with everyone else, particularly Spike. But he was always very polite in any case, even if he did think I was rubbish. I don't know. Here he is in probably slightly better company, playing some Harold Arlen with George Masso. Let's fall in love. Oh, yes, he could definitely swing, couldn't he? He could definitely swing. Let's Fall in Love. The great Spike Robinson on tenor sax there, playing a whole album of Harold Arlen tunes in the company of George Masso as well. Just trying to see who else is in the band, actually. Ken Poplowski, I think, is playing there as well, is he? Who has he got? Here we are. Spike Robinson on tenor, George Masso on trombone, John Pierce on piano, the great Dave Green. I know Dave fairly well, lovely chap, on bass. Martin Drew, sadly no longer with us, brilliant drummer behind the kit. Wonderful. So, yeah, I think Martin Drew, and then he had me on the drums. He probably didn't think I was quite as good, and he'd be quite accurate in that assumption. Great character as well, a real sort of dry sense of humour. He'd call all these tunes no one had ever heard, least of all me. And also had a very peculiar... He did live to a reasonable age, I seem to recall, no longer with us, Spike. But it's amazing that he did, because as far as I could see, he seemed to survive entirely on a diet of meat and lager. It's the only thing I ever saw him eat, and that he said he didn't do veg, and that he even seemed to include potatoes. And so when we were playing every night, all he would eat would just be either steak or lobster and lager. That was it. You wouldn't think mankind could live, lovely though steak, lager and lobster are, just on that, and yet he appeared to be fairly... Oh, and cigarettes. Yeah, well, old-style jazz, I suppose you could say, in many ways. Wouldn't seem to be the most healthy lifestyle ever, but I don't know, he seemed pretty trim. I don't know how fit he was, but he certainly lived to a reasonable age, and as you can tell, could play the saxophone very well indeed. But yeah, no veg at all, including chips or potatoes of any kind. Or salad. Any of that on the plate, you just pushed it to one side, ate the meat and left everything else, and then washed it down with a lager. They don't make him like that anymore, as they say.
Don't put your daughter on the stage, Mrs. Worthington. Don't put your daughter on the stage. The profession is overcrowded and the struggle is pretty tough. And admitting the fact she's burning to act, that isn't quite enough. She has nice hands to give the wretched girl her due, but don't you think her bust is too developed for her age? I repeat, Mrs. Worthington, sweet Mrs. Worthington, don't put your daughter on the stage. Regarding your dear Mrs. Worthington, of Wednesday the 23rd, although your baby may be keen on a stage career, how can I make it clear this is not a good idea for her to hope, dear Mrs. Worthington, is on the face of it absurd. Her personality is not in reality exciting enough, inviting enough for this particular sphere. Don't put your daughter on the stage, Mrs. Worthington. Don't put your daughter on the stage. She's a bit of an ugly duckling, you must honestly confess, and the width of her seat would surely defeat her chances of success. It's a loud voice, and though it's not exactly flat, she'll need a little more than that to earn a living wage. On my knees, Mrs. Worthington, please, Mrs. Worthington, don't put your daughter on the stage. Don't put your daughter on the stage, Mrs. Worthington, don't put your daughter on the stage. Though they said at the School of Acting she was lovely as Peer Gynt, I'm afraid on the whole an ingenue role would emphasize her squint. She's a big girl, and though her teeth are fairly good, she's not the type I ever would be eager to engage. No more buts, Mrs. Worthington, nuts, Mrs. Worthington, don't put your daughter on the stage.
Wise advice from Noel Coward there. I don't know if they get away with some of those lyrics now. She's a big girl, rather overdeveloped, teeth flat. Yeah, it's not polite. It has to be said. Is it PC? Probably not. I don't think you get away with those lyrics these days. I mean, it's not... Yeah, well, just leave it there, I think. Don't put your daughter on the stage. Made me think of that. Noel Coward. I'm actually rehearsing a Noel Coward play at the moment, Private Lives, which we're staging down with the Dramatis Personae down at the Aaron Arts Centre in July. So yeah, come down and see us if you fancy it. Can't remember the dates, but if you look on the Erin Arts Centre site, you'll see the date. Something like the 11th of July, something like that, just a week or so after Tynwald Day. Be lovely to see you if you fancy coming down to that and you like a bit of Noel Coward. And yes, it's pretty much the same sort of humour, I think. A couple who are, well, yeah, I won't spoil it. Come and see it in any case. Be lovely to see. And what a voice he had. Yes, and what a sort of demeanour. And spent happy years in Jamaica, he did, our Noel. Now, Jazz in 3D, we've been enjoying this collection, the Jazz and Vocal Collection in the clarity and reality of three-dimensional sound, something back from the around about the early part of the 21st century, late 90s, where it was using some digital technology to clean up old recordings to make them sound all wonderful and fresh and almost as if they were new. Like this one, the Coleman Hawkins Trio, When Buddha Smiles. Ah, that's the way you do it. The hawk flies high, as they say, which is the name of one of his albums, of course. Coleman Hawkins, When Buddha Smiles. Great name for a track, that, really. With Coleman himself, of course, on tenor, Freddie Johnson piano, and the wonderfully named Maurice Van Cleef at the drums in 1948. And in the liner notes to this digitally cleaned up session, it says, despite an interesting piano solo, that's damning with faint praise, isn't it? This is Hawkins' track All the Way, the master clearly relishing his work with an outburst of invention that inspires his two partners to new heights. They start a little cool and distant, but the drive and momentum of Hawkins welds them together, and they finish as a hard-driving team. It's hard not to be inspired by the hawk in full flight. I bet you thought that all the way, didn't you? More from that collection next week. I've been enjoying that one, I must be admit. Very nice indeed. Now, if you're getting a little bit down at heel, you might enjoy this next one, The Shoemaker's Serenade.
He'll mend your shoes for you, he'll mend your blues for you, with clicks of the tricks of the trade. For as he taps away, your heart will start to sway to the shoemaker's serenade. Tick-a-tick-a-tee, tick-a-tick-a-tay, tick-a-tick-a-tick-tick-tick-tick-tick-tick-a-tay. The things that gent can do to any bent-old shoe, no matter how tattered and frayed. And as he sews your seams, he mends your broken dreams with his shoemaker's serenade. Tick-a-tick-a-tee, tick-a-tick-a-tay, tick-a-tick-tick-tick-tick-tick-tick-tick-a-tay. I'd like to state his work is great, and if you wait, he won't take long. And you can watch the children of the neighborhood gaily dancing to his merry song. If you're along the street and hear a song that's sweet, it's not any penny arcade. It's just a cobbler-gay who shoes your blues away with the shoemaker's serenade. Tick-a-tick-a-tee, tick-a-tick-a-tay, tick-a-tick-a-tick-tick-tick-tick-tick-tick-tick-a-tay.
Dearly beloved, how clearly I see somewhere in heaven you were fashioned for me. Angel eyes knew you, angel voices led me to you. Nothing could save me, fate gave me a sign. I know that I'll be yours come shower or shine. So I say, merely, dearly beloved, be mine. Tell me that it's true. Tell me you agree. I was meant for you. You were meant for me. Save me, fate gave me a sign. I know that I'll be yours come shower or shine. So I say, Millie, dearly beloved, be mine.
Well, that's nice. A bit of stuff, isn't it? Another little twofer for you there. Hope you enjoyed that one. Dearly beloved, Denny Dennis on the vocals with that one there. And very nice too. I always like a bit of Denny. Can't go wrong with some Denny, can you? And before that, it was Lou Prager with Eileen Orchard on the vocals. Now there's one you don't often hear. Eileen Orchard. And I was looking in the book of words because I couldn't think of anything about her at all. Sang post-war with Lou Prager, as we heard there, where, which I didn't know, she met and went on to marry the famous trombonist Don Lusher, who I definitely did know, and later took over the running of the Ted Heath Band. Also recorded with Billy Ternant, it seems. Not a bad career. I might just squeeze in a bit of Fats Waller from him very fast.
Every star above knows the one I love. Sweet Sue, it's you. And that moon on high knows the reason why. Sweet Sue, Susie Q, it's you. No one else, it seems, ever shares my dreams. Without you, baby, I don't know what I do. I don't know what I do. But in this heart of mine, you live all the time. Sweet Susie, 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 you, it's you.
I better play this one for my wife, hadn't I? That's about it for another week. I'll leave you with Fats. Watch out for those bikes. Same time, same place next week. Make it a date. Cheerio.
I don't know what I do. In this heart of mine, you live all the time. Susie, 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 Susie.